In this video, I'll be getting into Boolean data types, selection statements, compound Boolean expressions. I think the best way to learn is by doing so. I'll be creating an additions quiz program that you can easily copy and make your own. So before I get started, I want to define everything. We have a Boolean data type, which just saves a true or false value inside that variable. As always, this is how you declare a variable, the type, the name, and the value. Here's an example. We have a Boolean data type, the name, referencing that area in memory that's going to hold this value. And again, it has to be true or false. I gave it a value of true. Next, we have comparison operators. Whenever you're writing a program and you want that program to return a true or false value, you would use comparison operators, and Java provides you with 6 relational operators. And then, as the name suggests, we compare values. So one would be on the left hand side and one would be at the right hand side, and they would just return a true or false value. Next, we have selection statements, and we have a one-way if, two-way if, and a nested if. This is a general syntax for an if statement, and what this allows you to do is select a path based on some result. So we have an if and the expression. If the expression is true, then executes the following code. Otherwise, it just continues. We have a two-way. It's a two-way because if it's true, it executes this code, and if it's false, it executes the following code. So this is the general syntax for a two-way if statement, if and else. Don't forget your blocks, and inside you would want to contain some statement. Next, we have a nested if, so we can do if, and we can nest another if inside of it, so we can continue that. So if this expression is true, we want to check if this expression is true, and so forth. Next, we have compound Boolean expressions, and what this allows you to do is form several compound Boolean expressions. And you would use the following logical operators: not, and, or exclusive or. I highly encourage you to look up the truth table for the following. That way you have a good understanding of what they do. But very quickly, if you have an expression here, it would return the opposite. So if this was true and you had a not, it would return false. Here, if we have expression on the left and right, it would return true only if both of them were true. Here we have an or. If one of them is true, it would return true. An exclusive or would only return true if both of them are different. So in this program, we want to take two integer values and add them together, and then we want to ask the user what the answer is, and if they're correct, display the message correct. If they're incorrect, display the message they're incorrect. And whenever I'm solving a problem or creating a program, I like to think of 3 simple steps: the input, the plan of action, and the output. So I know I need to create 3 variables. So I need to create number 1, number 2, and the answer. So next we want to initialize these numbers, so number 1. And because we don't want them to be fixed, we want to make it dynamic. We can use math.random. This is a method in math. And what this does, it generates a number, a decimal number from 0.0 to 0.9. And if we multiply it times 11, we can get it from 0 to 10. And because this is going to return a decimal number, we want to cast it into an int. We could do that by doing the following. And because we want 2 random generated numbers, I can copy and paste. So now we have 2 random numbers, number 1 and number 2. Next, we want to display a message to the user. What is concatenate the reference variable number 1 plus insert a string plus concatenate the reference variable number 2. And we want to take that value, and in order to do so, we use the scanner name it input or whatever you want, new scanner. Again, this is just a general syntax, system.in, and we want to take that value. So we want to save it into answer. We want to take that value that was input into the scanner.next, and because we know it's int, we use the next int. So now that that's done, we've generated 2 random numbers, number 1 and number 2, and we've displayed them onto the console so the user can input some answer. Next, we want to use selection control, a one-way. So we want to check to see if answer is equal to number 1 plus number 2. Again, this would only display something if this is true. So we want to display a message. Correct. Let's quickly run that, check it. So now we have, what is 1 plus 9? We know the answer is 10. There you have it. So let's insert something wrong. So 5 plus 9, it's not 1. And you can see nothing happened because the if statement dropped. So if this is not true, then it drops and continues, but there's nothing else, so it terminates. Next, we can use the two-way if statement. So we can do an else, and we want to display the message to the user saying, let's say, you cannot add. So if this is false, then it would do this. So 2 plus 6 is not 9, so you cannot add. Next, we can do, let's see, a nested if. So if we wanted to give the user another chance, we can do the following. We can do, so if not the answer, so if the answer is false, but because we used a not, it's true. So if true, if this is true, we want to do not correct, have another go, and then we want to display that same question. And then we want to take the input from the user once again, so answer. And then we want to check to see if whatever they entered is correct. So we want to insert this expression, answer. If answer is equal to number 1 plus number 2, that's what we originally had. So if this is correct, if this is true, we want to display correct. What's wrong here? We have too many parentheses, but we don't have enough parentheses. Here we go. So then if we run this, we have 8 plus 0 is not 1. So because it's not correct, meaning it's true, we have not correct, have another go. We have that message displayed here, and we also have the message displayed, what is number 1 plus number 2, which is right here. And then we're asking the user to enter some value, and I've entered, let's see, I want to enter the correct value this time, 8. And because it's true, we would get this message. Let's test it out, enter, incorrect. So what if I entered 2 incorrect numbers? So it's not 2, so it would drop down here. It's not true, so this is correct. So have another go, entered some value. So we're at this point right now. We're waiting for the user to input some value. And because it's not correct, let's say 0, it terminates. It's done. So it ignores this if statement, drops down here, and because there's nothing there, it drops down and it's done. So what if we wanted to display another answer, or the false result of that, the false path? So we can display, again, you cannot count. Oh, you cannot add. So you run that, it's not 1, and that is not 1 again. So you cannot add. So before I end the video, I want to talk about multi-way if and else. So this is the general syntax. You would have your normal if statement, so the expression, and if true, execute this. Otherwise, if this is true, execute the following code, and then if none of them are true, then do the false path. Quick example. Just copy this, put it down here, and let's say we had some int number is equal to 0, and let's do number is equal to 0, number is equal to 1, and let's add another else if. So you can see we added another else if, and then we want to do is equal to 2, and we want to add an expression. So I'm just going to display some message saying your number is 0, and another message. Let me just copy this, paste it a couple times, your number is 1, your number is 2, then else, let's do your number is not 0, 1, or 2. Then we run that. Oh, it's wrong. Oh, don't forget your quotation mark. So you run that, and you have your number is 0. So if we change that value to 1, we have your number is 1. If we change that to 2, we have your number is 2. Then we change that to 3. We run that, and we have your number is not 0, 1, or 2. You can display any message and so on. You can make this as long as you want. So next we have a switch statement, and then this is how you create a switch statement. You use the keyword switch, some expression, and then the expression is going to return some value, and then you check to see those values down here. So if it's equal to this value, you execute the following code. You can have as many cases as you want. This is the final case, and then your default if none of your values get executed or none of them are in here, you can have this default statement. So let's do an example. I'll do the same thing I did up here. So we check to see some numbers. So we have number, we're checking that expression number. So if it's 0, we want to execute the following code. If the value is 1, the value is 2, and then some statement. Let's just copy this because it's the same thing. So we want to print that, print this as follows. So this value would be 1, this value would be 2, this value would be is not 0, 1, or 2, and let's erase this. So now let's add a break after each one of these cases. So what break does, it just completely escapes this these structures. So once you meet the correct case, it ends everything, and then it leaves a block, and then you can see there's nothing here. So once you run it, actually, to erase this, we don't need it. Copy this down here. Actually, yeah. So now we run that, and you can see your number is not 0, 1, or 2. So if we change that value to 1, we should get 1. Your number is 1, and then we put 0. Your number is 0. So you get the point. So it checks to see which one of these are true. If they're true, it executes the following statement, and you break in order to end the block. If you don't insert this break, it's going to check all these values, and sometimes you want that, sometimes you don't. That's it for this video. Next, I'll be getting into math methods and characters and strings.